Hey, it's Joe Sanok. And guess what? Our Level Up Week in March was a huge success. And we're so excited to bring it back from September 18th to 21st. Now, you might be asking, what's in it for me? Well, let me break down why this event is tailor made specifically for you. Are you a new therapist looking to start a practice? We've got insights tailored just for you, like the solo practice panel and Q&A. Maybe you're a seasoned professional wanting to grow a little bit. Learn from experts in the field on topics like growing a group practice and keys to successfully accepting insurance in your practice. Do you want to harness technology for your practice's advantages? Well, don't miss the 5 IT things you have to master. And that's just the beginning. We have over 20 webinars, all designed to help you level up your private practice no matter what stage you're at. Plus, it's all entirely free. So why Level Up Week? Because we provide you with practical, actionable strategies from top leaders in the field. You'll gain tools to elevate your practice, expand your knowledge, and engage with a community of like minded professionals. Don't let this opportunity slip by. Register now at practiceofthepractice.com/level up and take the next step in your private practice journey. I can't wait to see you there. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 901. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice the Practice podcast. I am so excited for this series that we are doing that's going to be covering all the things we did in Level Up Week earlier this year. And this series is all about giving a spotlight to some amazing guests that we had. We wanted to make sure that you, if you missed it, were able to get this education. It's something that's been only available to our membership communities for the last 6 months or so. And now we are letting you have access to it if you didn't attend Level Up Week earlier in the year. Also, wanted to make sure that you know that on September 18th through September 21st, we have Level Up Week 2023. So make sure that you come to Level Up Week. We are going to have tons of amazing speakers, amazing panels on everything from starting your practice, starting a group practice, and growing a group practice, as well as things like passive income and really just leveling up in a new way in your private practice. So make sure you're on that interest list. You'll get all those dates and all those registrations emailed to you over at practiceofthepractice.com/level up. So without any further ado, let's dive into today's episode. All right, you are in the How to Start a Private Practice webinar from Level Up Week. So excited that you are here today with me. Welcome. Glad you're hanging out with us today. I'm Joe Sanok, and I started Practice of the Practice 11 years ago. We have over 850 episodes. I almost said 300. 850 episodes of the podcast, and we're doing two a week. So pretty soon here, we're going to be at 1,000 episodes within a year and a half. So pretty crazy to have spent that much time just talking and learning about therapy. All right. So I also have two daughters that are 8 and 11. Love spending time with them and stand-up paddleboarding, being outside. I live in Traverse City, Michigan, just a few blocks from the water. And so outdoor 4 seasons year round is going on. So back in 2009, I started a side private practice to pay off student loan debt. I moved into my family's basement from Kalamazoo. Got a job as a foster care supervisor, and really just was working a couple days a week doing my private practice. But how I felt was I felt overwhelmed. I was like, websites, how do you even do a website? I put that on Facebook. My friend Monica, who was the therapist, said, oh, here's how I made one on Microsoft Office Live, which isn't even around anymore. Regarding marketing, it was really confusing. Like, do I want to be in network and get onto insurance panels and then try to find people that can refer to those insurance panels? I had no idea where to start. I remember I was at the LPCs of Northern Michigan picnic one summer when I was new in private practice, and I was sitting with a bunch of other people in private practice, and they were lamenting how little money they made and how it felt like a lot of their Medicaid clients that they were just a few steps ahead of them. And it felt really disconcerting. Like, I do not want to just like be making just a little bit more than the Medicaid clients. But then there was this weird money mindset where there's, but we didn't go in it for the money, right? We want to help people, as if somehow if you made money, you weren't helping people. And if you helped people, you couldn't make money. Like they were somehow mutually exclusive of one another. And I didn't know at the time how much that just didn't line up with what my belief system was going to be around that. But really, it really challenged that to say, like, do I want to live this life of not making money, of thinking that I'm helping people, but almost like living a martyrdom life of poverty? Like that's not really what I signed up for, and it's not why I have all this student loan debt. I didn't know what to charge. I didn't know how to find clients. And I was like, what if this doesn't work? What if I put in all this time and money, pulling away from my family only to then have it not work? I don't want to spend $1,000 on a website. $1,000 could buy me a new mattress, or it could buy me, new tires for my car, or all sorts of things. Like, what if it doesn't work and I just waste all this time and money on it? So there's a lot of these questions that were going on in my head. Now, if you resonate with any of those, would love for you in the chat to just put yes or just put a Y. Like if you've thought any of that in regards to starting a practice, just drop that in the chat and put in a yes. Yeah, I mean, look at all that. We all have felt that, and I love that they're all caps yeses too. That's awesome. But let me just normalize this for you that it's not you, it's them. Grad school kind of screwed us over. I mean, think about all the important classes we had, clinical issues, running groups, even running a nonprofit. I had a consultation group or a consultation class on how to do consulting, but it's like, what the heck's consulting? And it was run by this business guy, but it was so disconnected from anything. So it's like you learn how to run good clinical groups, but you don't learn how to market them, how to really, launch them, how to do that in private practice. And most of my professors, I don't know about you, but most of them weren't really practicing. They were academics. And if they were practicing, it was just a couple clients a week, often out of the like student counseling center, really to keep themselves a little bit fresh, to have some stories to tell in class. That very few of them, unless they were adjunct faculty, had their own private practice. So we have some lessons we have to first undo before we can talk about what you need to do to start a practice. The first lesson is being busy. So busyness is not business. The truth is that being busy doesn't actually set you up for a great business. Having the proper infrastructure and systems will help you. If you don't plan it correctly, though, it will be just another job, not a business. And so oftentimes what I see is people are working in a nonprofit or community mental health or some other thing, and they're working 40 hours a week. Maybe they're doing 20 to 30 hours of clinical work, a bunch of paperwork, a bunch of just bullshit that, doesn't seem to really matter in regards to a lot of things, a lot of wasted time in meetings. But you're working that 40 hours plus, maybe you might be on call. And then they set up a job where they're making about the same amount of money. They have even more risk in having their own business and having their own life insurance, their own health insurance, all the things that come with it. And they're busy and they feel like, oh, I made a business, but they've really just given themselves a job. Number two lesson that we need to undo is the idea that money is bad. The truth is that money magnifies what's already there. If you're a bad person and you make more money, you're going to be a bigger jerk. And if you're a good person and you make more money, you're going to help the world. And so just making money isn't what makes somebody bad, even though, Hollywood or stories of the Grinch or things like that have it that these people have used folks to make money. We can take our own values. We can take our own posture towards the world, the goodness that we want to create, and we can make money and impact the world in a positive way. Lesson number three is the idea that the best do the best. I remember when I was I think sophomore in college, my dad's a clinical psychologist, and I was in a dual major, psychology and comparative religion, at Western Michigan University. And I said to him, there's just so many psych majors. I just look at this class and there are hundreds of psych majors. And it just seems like, how are we all going to get jobs? And he said to me, if you're the best, you'll always have a job. I mean, no pressure there. Like, if you're the best, you'll always have a job. Okay, so I just have to be the best out of all these people. That's all. So I just got to work harder. But the truth is, you can be great, but if clients don't know you exist, which comes through marketing, networking, things like that, and you don't have a clear system, for getting them started, so that would be onboarding them, you won't grow as quickly. People make decisions on three simple things. Zig Ziglar taught us this, that they decide who they know, who they like, and who they trust. That process can go very quickly. Say a doctor or a pastor or a friend says, "Oh, you've got to go see Janine. She's amazing." Then that's that know, like, and trust almost immediately. It could be a blind Google search and your website just is so clear on who you help. And they're like, that is me. I want that kind of help. They know you exist, they like you, and they trust you. It can go very quickly, but at its core, they have to make decisions on know, liking, and trusting people. So if those are untrue things, what actually is true? Well, truth number one is that setting up a business is actually really easy. You've got the logistical side of things. So in most states, that's going to be a PLLC, setting up a business corporation in like California, having some sort of legal entity, having your QuickBooks set up, having your bank account set up, all of those things work flowing. We'll talk about all these things more in detail rather than just tear through them. We want to look at marketing. So how do people find out that you exist? How do they know that you exist, that you are growing a business? I mean, for a lot of people that are just starting, if within 6 months they had 15 or 20 clients, that would feel incredible. So what we want to do is think, okay, you only need to have 15 to 20 people want to work with you. You don't need to have hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. All you need is just a handful of people that want to work with you. So marketing, you exist. And then the clinical side, doing good clinical work, looking at the needs of your clients and pairing those needs up with, the skill set that you have or the skill set that you're developing. And so the basics are really easy. We can drill into those a little bit more. Truth number two is that community helps you have faster growth. So first, having support of people that have gone before you. This can be clinicians that already have started a practice. This can be consultants. This can be part of a membership community. It can be part of all sorts of different things that people have done what you want to do. So in lots of our webinars this week, people have asked questions that have been asked before. Does that mean that's a bad question? No, it just means that the difference between your knowledge and other people's knowledge is pronounced. And so we want to make that tighter. We want to have that be something that you've got people you can go to and say, which electronic health records did you pick? Did you do a PLLC or an LLC in your state? We just in one of the webinars had an individual that maybe here that had filed for an LLC in New York and then found out later after getting everything set up that she needed a PLLC. And so it's like, there's these little things that it's really helpful to have someone say, hey, did you check with the this office in your state? Did you check with an employment attorney to see if 1099s are even allowed if you're starting a group practice? So you want that support. You want to have access to knowledge of systems, of step-by-step, of processes, of experts that will help you say, here are the quick hacks to really turn this around and make it go really quickly. And then the last thing we need is that accountability. Rocky this morning was talking about how the heaviest weight in a gym, and I love this, the heaviest weight in a gym is the front door of getting in there and just being there. And to have that accountability, to have someone saying, hey, did you do what you said you're going to do? To have that internal fortitude, but then also to have other people in a group or individuals to hold you accountable. And truth number three is that people have done this before. People have done this before. People have started private practices. People have grown in different ways, that they have started serving their communities. Take Valerie Harris, who on Monday was talking all about how she was listening to my podcast, decided to start a practice, and now she has a multi-million-dollar practice that's based almost entirely on having interns and pre-licensed people there. Like, she took action. She did something. You're doing something others have done, so there's no reason to have to start at the very beginning. So let's look at Brian Cooper. So Brian Cooper is someone who's been really involved with Next Level Practice. He's someone that was just on our solo practice panel. And to me, what he says here has so many things that whether or not you connect with Next Level Practice are important to take away. So he said, when I started Next Level Practice, so he's in community, I felt overwhelmed at the vast idea of starting a private practice of my own. But I was determined to equip myself as best I could to succeed. The NLP community, resources, and accountability helped me to feel prepared. So we want to feel prepared. We want to know that we're prepared, that we're getting good knowledge, whether that's in Next Level Practice or the Facebook groups you're in or local groups. You want to make sure that it's good quality information. that eased the overwhelmed feelings in starting my practice off on the right foot. So glad I decided to invest in myself and my practice through NLP. So I think there's something there where the idea of investing your time or your money into things, it could be in Google Ads, it could be in a website, it could be in business cards, to give yourself that budget to say, okay, like if I'm going to start a practice and I'm going to run some numbers, so let's just, run some quick numbers. So say I want to get to 15 clients a week and I'm going to charge 135 a session. Say you're going to even be private pay. I'm going to do that for 48 weeks a year, $97,200 gross. Okay. So if I was to take just 5% of that to help pay for my startup, that's just under $5,000 that I'm going to do in my startup, that I'm going to loan from my family, pay back tax-free, and be able to do that. So Brian then continues, I'm happy to say that in just 7 months, I've quadrupled my average weekly session count and I'm coming off my most profitable month to date. So he's looking at his numbers. I highly recommend Next Level Practice because it not only offers an abundance of support and resources for every level of your practice journey, but it also provides the needed community and accountability to keep you moving forward and going strong as a practice owner and entrepreneur. So really, there's 3 things that you need when you're starting your practice. First, you need access to knowledge in some sense. Now, we have YouTube, we have Facebook groups, all sorts of things. I would argue that having access to knowledge that is in the same river that you're headed. So if you are going into a part-time practice when you have a full-time job and you're going to just do private pay, look for people who have done that. Look for communities that have those particular things. Don't just go Google how to start a private practice. Go find those people that have the exact thing that you want. Second, then you want to be in community with those people. That could be as simple as finding someone in your community that you get coffee with every quarter and you pick your brains together, you share resources. It could be something more formal like Next Level Practice, or it could be something else. Then third, you want tools of the trade. Things change so quickly. Even just a couple months ago, I wasn't using AI for anything. And then ChatGPT came out, and I've been learning how to use that to prompt ideas, to get basic copywriting done, to get blog posts going, to get them going, not to have them totally written by a robot because it's not going to sound right. It's not going to sound in the same way that I speak or that I think, or it's not going to weave in the same examples or stories. But that's a tool of the trade that we're sharing, we're teaching in Next Level Practice. We're making sure our community understands how they could use that. Same sort of thing, you want to have access to tools of the trade. So let's look at your first year. We're going to do a quick crash course on the finances quarter by quarter. So, and I would highly recommend taking a picture of this. I'm actually going to take a picture of this myself to put in our Instagram story. Why not do it? Because I'm in charge of the webinar. So we're going to all take a picture of this so that you can have it, because you'll get an email with all this, but take a picture of it. All right, we're going to do this. Turn it around, add a funny filter to it, and boom. First year crash course. Here we go. This is what we're covering right now. All right, so that's going out on Instagram. First quarter, months 0 through 3, you're setting up your website, you're getting your marketing going, your logistics, getting some blogging going. You're going to look at your ideal client, insurance versus private pay, basic systems, and get some networking going. So we want to be at about 10 clients per week, and say we're super conservative with our money. I would not recommend starting this low, but whenever I run sorts of things, I always try to keep it over the top conservative to just show how easy it can be to do a lot of these things. So if months 2 and 3, you're at $900 a week, that's going to bring in $7,200. All right, now we look at the next quarters, 2 and 3. You're going to up that networking. You're going to build that branding. You're going to get your logo going. If you didn't get that going in quarter 1, do some niche specific talks where you're finding where is your ideal client? Who are they? What are they doing? And get out there. Oftentimes, I recommend getting a virtual assistant at this point, because the virtual assistant can then be answering your phones. They can be responding to your email, getting more people in very quickly compared to if they're just waiting for you to call back. And then thinking about who's connected to your ideal client. Do they go to yoga every week? Are they connected to a local church? Are they on insurance or off insurance? Do they work at a local hospital or some other larger business in your area? And see what's working, really looking at the numbers of how are people finding me. So if I looked at the 10 to 15 clients a week you're at within those first 3 quarters, what's the 20% you're doing that's getting you 80%? I mean, I had some people when I had my private practice that I sold in 2019 that I had a handful of people that I had networked with that every month or so they would refer a new person to me. They were the 20%. And so every quarter, every 6 months, I'd grab breakfast with them or, we'd get coffee together to just catch up. And then to keep that relationship going, get to know each other beyond just that networking relationship. But then they know, like, and trust me. So then they're going to refer people to me as well. So at that point, we're looking at 15 clients per week. If we're really cheap at $90 a session, that's $13.50 a week, bringing us in at $32,400. Quarter four, we're looking at the last handful of months, maybe adding clinicians at this point. We might start doing some interviews, mirror that branding. So whatever's working with you, you can mirror that. So, for example, I worked with angry kids, and so I might look for someone also that works with angry kids. Or if I'm working with kids, maybe I have someone that works with parents. I have someone that works with couples, people that are dealing with life transition issues, things like that. Looking at what are we turning away? Who are the types of clients because of time? So it could be weekends, could be evenings, or because of topic. So maybe there's a niche that people keep calling you about, but you don't offer autism assessments. Well, it might be helpful to have a testing psychologist on staff that does do that. Why are you turning people away? And at this point, starting to ask yourself, how do I take off hats? Because oftentimes to get the practice going, to do your first couple of hires, a lot of times what happens is that you are wearing multiple hats. And to get to that almost six figures or that first year in, the things that got you there are not going to be the things that get you to that next year or that next six figures. So say you had some W-2s or 1099s that were doing a really, really light part-time caseload of 6 per week, and then $90 a session, that with 50% of that going towards you, that's $270 a week extra, meaning that that last quarter, we're bringing in that 20 sessions, bringing us up to 66,840. So some typical expenses, if you're looking at renting, if you give yourself $1,500 a month, now in different markets, it could be cheaper, it could be more expensive. There are lots of factors around this, but these are things that you definitely want to run through. So we want to make sure that we're looking at your 1 to 2 office suite if you're doing that, unless you're going to be completely telehealth. Looking at your EHR, looking at your Google suite, looking at your internet, phones, liability, all of that. So we look at the total there being just under 30,000, but recognizing that 18K of that is rent. And so if you can reduce that, if you can sublease when you're starting out, if you can office share, those are all ways to reduce that 18K budget there. Now, another way to decide your rate is to start with your lifestyle. So for example, if we started with your lifestyle and your salary, plus that you want to take home, plus the taxes, plus the cost of doing business, say it was $80,000 you wanted to take home, taxes around 24K, and the cost of doing business giving yourself 30,000 or so, then you have a total that you need to hit. So $134,000 gross that needs to come in. Then we decide how many weeks we're going to work. So if you want to work 48 weeks, 46 weeks, 40 weeks, like depending on how many weeks you want to take off, that then tells you how much you need per week. So at 48 weeks, that would be $2,792 per week. And then decide how many sessions you want to do in a week. So if I only wanted to do 20 sessions a week, divided that out, that means I have to make $139.58 per session. So if I'm on an insurance that only pays $100 a session, that's a difference of about $40. That means that if it's equal, if it's half insurance and half private pay, I need to be about $40 above that. So $180 for my private pay if they're half and half. So if we're going to average $139, we got to make sure that if we're taking lower insurances, that that's made up somewhere. Feel free to start putting questions into the chat. In probably 10 minutes or so, we're going to start diving into some of those questions and just allow us to talk. If you have a question that you want to go back and forth on and have some more conversation than just the chat, just virtually raise your hand, and then that lets me know that there's a little back and forth to have you unmute. So how to decide your rate? You can start with the going rate. Look at what insurance and private pay are in your area, typically 125 to 175. In the private practice panel that we just had earlier today, and we were talking about how I was challenging people to raise their rates. And I would highly suggest that you start with whatever you want to start at. So say you start at 125. When you're 60% full, that's when you raise your rates again. So if you want 10 sessions a week and you're just like, I just want to kind of part-time kick it off, when you're at 6 sessions, you want to go up by $25 to $35. Big jumps. We're not doing $5 because the emotional impact of that is way more pronounced. So if you say, okay, I've got 6 people, they're 125, I'm going to jump to 150. And sometimes we even recommend having your intake be $10 more than your session, just to continue to push you into those higher categories. And so intake 165 and maybe, your regular sessions are 150. So then, you get that 7th call and they're like, I want to work with you. And you're like, my rates are 165 for an intake and 150 per session. And they say yes. That gives you a little bit of a heart attack and helps you build that feeling of self-worth a little bit more than if you just went up to 130. No one's going to freak out emotionally if you make 130 instead of 125. But if you make 125 and then you jump to 150, that's a big, whoa, what am I doing here? And then if you jump again when you're 60% full to 175, that does something different for you. So you do that throughout the year where you keep raising your rates. And then every year, usually in October or November, you send a letter or an email or talk in sessions with your current clients about how in January 1st, you're realigning your prices. And so to say, you started in April of 2023 at the rate of 120 per session. Right now, I'm charging 185 per session. So on January 1st, I'm going to be realigning everyone at that 185. Now, there are situations where you can say, I am offering a sliding fee scale, or we have an anonymous donor. I've heard of people saying that where it's actually their practice that's donating it if someone really needs that extra help. I would always raise everyone's rates every year. So even if you're like, I'm at 185, I know this person can't afford that, at least raise them to 135 and 145 so you can start to get them closer and closer and start charging that throughout the year again. How else have you decided on your rate? Would love in the chat for people to just put in the chat if there's other ways that you've thought about your rate. Drop that in the chat so we can learn from each other. But in that situation, there's often money on the table. So if you're only using your office for 20 sessions a week, say Monday through Thursday, and you're done at 3, from 3 till 7, that would be at least 4 sessions. If you're having someone book on the 45-minute mark, it could be even more than that. That's 16 sessions Monday through Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, easily there could be 25 sessions. There's lots of people that have full-time jobs that would love to work on a Saturday or a Sunday to make some extra income. I had one lady, Sarah, who she only did Saturday mornings until noon because her kids slept in. And she's like, I just want to make a little extra money. So she would start at 8 and go till noon and get in 4 or 5 sessions, depending on if she wanted to do it on the 45. Now, if we look at those 41 sessions at even a really, really low rate of $90 per session, with 50% coming back to you over 48 weeks, that's an extra $88,560 if you are having contractors there or W-2 employees. There's lots of ways to keep costs down as we're talking about starting a practice. You can start with telehealth. You can do this as a side gig, which actually, if you keep your full-time job, you can take much bigger risks because it's not like your family needs that money. You're already hopefully living off of your full-time salary. So then if you're adding this side gig, it's a lot easier then to be able to bring that money in and to raise those rates and not worry about if you only have 1 or 2 clients. You can always build your own website or do your own marketing. You can wear multiple hats. You can invest only in the essentials, like forming a company, getting your website set up, getting your liability insurance, and then adding billing software later. It's only recommended if you don't take insurance. If you take insurance, it is such a pain to try to do all that billing on yourself, to keep track of it all. It is so not worth your time if you're taking insurance to not have an EHR. You need an EHR if you're taking insurance. You can use your own phone and your own internet. And then also you could run that billing through your company. Find a shared workspace where you can use only when you need it. Now, of course, you don't want one of those tech startups where the walls are clear glass, where everyone can see who you're working with. But, finding something like Regis or other places like that, where you can rent it by the session, or finding another clinician you can rent by the session. And learn from others in your area that have done this before you as to keeping costs down. Lauren, one of our members, posted this where she said that moment when your ideal client walks out of their first appointment and you realize your marketing's working and then your ideal client is awesome. Just that idea of celebrating and thriving and having an amazing private practice. So we need people in private practice like you because we need more dedicated private practice owners. One of the central questions that I asked myself when I was leaving my full-time job for private practice and consulting was, would I rather try and do this and potentially fail, or to never know if I had it in me? And for me, to realize, you know what, I would rather try private practice, totally bomb at it, and then go back and get a new job, uh, and know that, than to never have tried. Also, just think about the multiplication for your community of you growing and seeing 20 more people in your community around mental health. Hiring a couple more people that see 20 people. Pretty quickly, the ripple effect of now your practice seeing hundreds of people and helping hundreds of people in your community is so helpful for the mental health crisis in the United States. Hey, it's Joe Sanok. And guess what? Our Level Up Week in March was a huge success. And we're so excited to bring it back from September 18th to 21st. Now, you might be asking, what's in it for me? Well, let me break down why this event is tailor-made specifically for you. Are you a new therapist looking to start a practice? We've got insights tailored just for you, like the solo practice panel and Q&A. Maybe you're a seasoned professional wanting to grow a little bit. Learn from experts in the field on topics like growing a group practice and keys to successfully accepting insurance in your practice. Do you want to harness technology for your practice's advantages? Well, don't miss the 5 IT things you have to master. And that's just the beginning. We have over 20 webinars, all designed to help you level up your private practice no matter what stage you're at. Plus, it's all entirely free. So why Level Up Week? Because we provide you with practical, actionable strategies from top leaders in the field. You'll gain tools to elevate your practice, expand your knowledge, and engage with a community of like-minded professionals. Don't let this opportunity slip by. Register now at practiceofthepractice.com/level up and take the next step in your private practice journey. I can't wait to see you there. I want to share with you a little bit about Next Level Practice. I know some of you may have heard about this. Some of this may be new, but want to just walk you through what we offer in our community. We have more than enough people applying at every phase of practice that we want to make sure that it's a good financial fit, a good time fit for you and for where you want to spend your time and money. But if you're looking to level up quickly and you're a bit confused as to where to start, Next Level Practice is specifically for people starting and growing a solo practice. It's our membership community for solo practitioners. Last week, before Level Up Week, I actually met with 2 people that had signed up for a pre-consulting call, wanting to pay $1,000 plus a month for consulting. And I said to them, your goals, like, you don't need one-on-one hand-holding. You do not need to have one-on-one consulting. Next Level Practice will help you reach those. And then when you get to a level where you really need that hand-holding, hopefully you'll have saved that money and then you can go into doing more consulting. But to me, this is the best program around starting a practice out there. What's included in Next Level Practice in this all-inclusive program is you get small groups that meet each month around accountability and brainstorming. How do I do this? Like, maybe you're building your own website. Someone's like, oh, I found this little hack that worked. Or here's how you install this on WordPress. Here's how you put a theme on WordPress. Here's how I'm doing SEO. So you learn from other people that are doing it. You get an accountability partner that you meet with regularly to stay accountable to your goals. We have weekly meetings that are live and they're also recorded and put into our community. We have monthly Ask the Experts, where we bring in people like Dr. Julie Schwartz-Gottman, Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income, experts on highly sensitive people, operational tools, profit first. And you get to have influence over that. We frequently are asking our community, hey, for the next round of Ask the Experts, what have you loved? Who have you heard recently? Who do you want us to dig in with more? Are there books that you think would be good for us to buy for everybody? We have those weekly live trainings where I run most of those, where we do a what's working, where we divide into groups and do laser coaching. And then we also have our other consultants help with some Q&As. There's a library of over 30 courses that you can go through. And I'm going to show you that community in just a minute. And then you get access to Circle, which is our online community, where it brings together, it's like a Facebook group meets an e-course platform like Teachable. So it's all within one, where you can have comments, questions, all of that. And it's all $99 a month. So less than the cost of one counseling session. You can have access to all of that. If you wanted to sign up right now, practiceofthepractice.com/NLP door. In the first 6 months, the first month you'll be onboarded with Dana, our accountability coach. She'll be making sure you get access to everything. Right when you sign up, you can email to schedule that time with her to make sure that you know when the dates are for our welcome party, the first Ask the Expert, the first What's Working, that you have those in your calendar. You've subscribed to the calendar, that you don't miss anything. Month two, we're looking at solidifying your plan for launching and growing and determining the 1 or 2 courses that you should take to really start to grow that practice. And then months 3 through 6, we're looking at planning, supporting, doing small groups, and being full within 6 to 9 months. So, who do you want helping you? We've had over 600 people go through the Practice of the Practice Next Level Practice program. This is our 20th cohort. We've been doing this for a while. We started Practice of the Practice back in 2012. So, we've been doing this for 11 years. We've helped over 2,000 practice owners at every phase of practice. We have a proven process. We've won awards for it, and we've helped people collect over $200 million in sales, which is just unbelievable. You can do all this on your own, but you're going to spend a lot of time going through YouTube, figuring out if you did it right. You won't have that support. But in Next Level Practice, we'll help you speed up your progress, give you those weekly trainings, do those small groups, accountability, that circle community, and tools of the trade, like a free logo, paperwork packets, monthly giveaways. And for every hour that you're spending evaluating or wondering if you did it right, you could have been actually working on the right thing. So you can actually work with the experts like me and the rest of our consultants and the rest of the community to actually level up to have that practice that you've been dreaming of. I want to show you the Circle community here. Let's move this out of the way. So in Circle, this is what it looks like in our Circle community. Lots of people asking questions, around different types of insurances. How are you paying yourself in solo practice? Is group practice launch worth it? Breath work that we did, private pay only group practice, Mondays. So if we look at all the things offered in Next Level Practice, you'll see all of the different courses we have here. So this is a section on starting a solo practice. There's all sorts of things in there around starting a solo practice. I mean, look at all this. It's just in that one area around starting a group practice. So that's just one of many areas in our spaces here. And then if you look at, how to name a practice within here, we have trainings about how to name a practice. And so you may be stuck on how do I name it? Private pay and private practice. This space has a bunch of trainings on exactly how to do that. So we have all these different sections that have within them have multiple courses and trainings. How do you use social media? How do you blog? How do you use Social Genie? Things on social justice. How do you edit a WordPress website? How do you do SEO to improve your ranking in Google? Insurance in your practice, growing your private practice, scaling it, business, lifestyle, website tips, all sorts of things, including all of our Ask the Expert recordings. So we have, highly sensitive people. We have treating infidelity, all sorts of different things like The One Thing. So the book, The One Thing, we brought them in and talked to people about it. We talk about all sorts of different things to help you continue to grow and scale as much as you want to. All right, we are going to dive into questions now. Thank you so much for hanging out. Feel free to turn your videos on. I'm going to also allow you all to unmute yourselves if you have questions. Go ahead and raise your hand if you have questions. And I see in the chat we've got some questions coming in, and I'll start there. So not sure if this varies by state, but is there a difference between being a sole proprietor and not setting up an LLC? If we have liability insurance, is that enough to not need the LLC? So actually, it's two very different things. So great question. So your liability insurance is the thing that protects you if someone sues you. And so, if you are just a sole proprietor, even if you're working at a agency, I recommend having your own liability insurance. Don't just rely on the agency to pay for it. Instead, you want that's going to help pay the legal bills. If there's any amount of money that you end up being charged to have to pay, that protects you there. An LLC, and in most states, a PLLC. California does not allow you to have an LLC. You have to file as a corporation in California. That creates a legal divide between the business assets and your individual assets. So say you lost a lawsuit for $3 million and your insurance coverage was $1 million, and there's $2 million that in some way you had to pay. Now, if you're just working as a sole proprietor, they can go after your personal assets. So it could be if you have equity in your house. In some situations, they may go after retirement or savings. It could obliterate you personally. Whereas if it's a LLC or a PLLC or a corporation, then what's happening is that business is responsible for it. So that business can go bankrupt, can say, we don't have any tangible assets to go after. You've got the insurance money, and then you just shut down that LLC and form a new one. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer or an accountant, so of course, consult your own. But my understanding is that in every situation, you should have some legal entity, even if you're just doing part-time practice. What needs to be considered when taking time off or vacation? Is vacation coverage necessary, particularly if taking insurance? Similarly, do you need to have on-call crisis availability with a solo practice? So the first part I would say is think about just the finances. That's why we run the numbers on 48 weeks. It really depends on the level of clients that you're seeing. So from a financial standpoint, you just want to plan ahead where maybe you're putting money into, a budget where you get paid the same amount every 2 weeks or something like that, or every month, no matter if you're on vacation or not on vacation. So then you have that stockpile that you build up throughout the year. And then if you go on vacation and you don't have as much money coming in, that money's still there. So from the financial side, you might want to think about it that way. When we think about actual coverage and the clinical side of it, you want to look at the level of care that your clients need. Like if you have people that are highly volatile, that you think are suicidal, that you think are going to have things come up while you're on vacation, you have every right to be on vacation. You have every right to have your phone off and to not be on call 24 hours a day. And you may want to have some sort of backup therapist in case of something coming up. In Northern Michigan, we have third level crisis center. We have an ER, things like that. You could have somebody that's a backup therapist, but a lot of them are going to be thinking through, I just met this person. I don't really know what's going on. And so I would talk with each of your clients and just let them know, okay, for these 2 weeks, I'm going to be on vacation. I'm not going to have access to my phone. So your crisis management plan is this, put that in their file, document it, and then make sure they know that they have all those numbers. All right, other questions, feel free to raise your hand too. Would love to know where you might be stuck in your startup process, where you have questions. Feel free to turn your videos on too. If you want to say hi, I would love to hear more about you starting a practice and what you're thinking. So we're going to keep talking starting a private practice. How are you thinking through numbers? How are you thinking through marketing? What's working for you? Feel free to drop some questions in there. While you do that, I'll answer a couple of questions we get frequently as you maybe start thinking about questions. One question we get is, how do I figure out my niche, or should I have a niche? And so one thing to really think through is, should I have a specialty? I love the example of restaurants. So if I went to a fancy French restaurant. So downtown Traverse City, we have this place called Amical. It's delicious. Say I brought someone with me and they were just like a meat and potatoes burger kind of guy. And he's like, I don't see anything I want. Like, can I ask the chef if they'll make me a burger? Assuming we didn't get thrown out for asking such a question, I'm sure that burger would be delicious. They'd have some like garlic infused aioli and some like heirloom tomatoes or something like that. So a specialist, we will assume, can be a generalist. But a generalist, if I'm at a mom and pop burger place and I want to have creme brulee and they like whip up some even though they don't know what they're doing, it's going to be terrible. And so the same is true in therapy, that the specialists people assume can be generalists. So I used to help angry teens, primarily angry teen boys when I had my practice. People assumed I could help anxious young people, that I could help socially awkward young people, that I could help parents that were just like didn't know what to do with the behavior of their kids. They make assumptions based on your niche. And you can then charge higher amounts for that. So I would think through, who are the types of clients that you absolutely love hanging out with, you feel energized by. Oftentimes if you have a full-time job, you may want to think about a niche that's different from that because you might get burned out on that. All right, I see some other questions coming in. So what are your favorite EHR systems? So we've partnered with Therapy Notes for years. Therapy Notes, if you use promo code Joe at checkout, you get 2 months for free. And the reason for that is we work with a lot of billers. There's a lot of billers that are out there, and I started surveying them and saying, what are the ones that you think are easiest and just most transparent for everyone? Transparent for the biller to know how many sessions the therapist did, transparent for the therapist to know if the biller already submitted. And over, Therapy Notes was the one that people said over and over. There's other things out there like Simple Practice or Theranest or things like that that are cheaper and a little different. But a lot of the billers said it's hard for them or for the therapist to really see what's going on within that, whereas Therapy Notes is the cleanest. And also in our membership communities, when you sign up for Therapy Notes, they actually give you 6 months for free. And we've got some promos coming up within our programs where they've given us a year for free. So they do a lot to serve the community, and over they get like, I think 4.9 stars for, I think they've had like 10,000 reviews or something like that. So I would say Therapy Notes through and through. And then a follow-up question, hiring a billing person versus billing through an EHR. So I would say it's worth testing to see how quickly and easily it goes through the EHR before you hire a billing person. To just see, like, there are insurances that it's seriously just a click. Like, you click, you get paid quickly, within 30 days, 15 days. There's no point in giving away 5 or 6% to somebody if literally it's just a click when you get your progress note done. Now, there are a lot of insurances that are not easy to work with, that need follow-up calls, that need pre-authorizations, that need, claims resubmitted. If that's your area, or you hear from other people in your area that that's the case with a certain insurance company, that's where it's really worth having an insurance professional. What you want to make sure you're paying for, though, is not per claim, because sometimes they'll say it's $15 per claim. It's like, whoa, that's not very much. If I'm bringing in 125, that's a pretty low rate. But they're getting paid whether or not they collect. What you want in a biller is someone that has a flat fee they take of all that is collected. Because if they don't collect, what's the point in even having them? So you want them to have a reason to have their staff on the phone, getting pre-auths, getting post-auths, following up, seeing what went wrong with something. The idea is that it's saving you time so that every hour that you would have been working on billing, you can actually be doing therapy, doing something for yourself, different things that are a higher level. All right. Can you speak to having multiple specialties? I think it's good to have one specialty when you're first getting started that you can really get known for, and then you can spin off of that. So say you're helping women post-divorce, and then you might move into women in transition. Then you might work on, women in marriages where they're not sure if they want to stay in it, and to kind of grow within that niche and to see who you're naturally attracting. If you have too many niches that are all over the place, I would tend to de-emphasize them, at least on the first part of your website. And then maybe in a who we help section or about us section, you might say, here's a couple other specialties we do. For clarity, we don't emphasize all of them, but here's other people that we help also. When you're on Psychology Today, you really, in those directories, should only have 5 to 7 specialties. If you have 20 or 30 specialties, that's telling people you're not a specialty of anyone or anything. And if it says, like, what's your modality, and you've clicked a ton of those, it's just not going to serve anybody. All right. If doing all private pay, no insurance, are there steps to being an out-of-network provider? I know an NPI is needed. A lot of those EHRs are going to be able to do that directly within it. And that's where working with a biller can help you with that. Also providing a super bill. Most EHRs now will automatically allow you to do that. And usually you have to register with the insurance company so that they know that you're billing out of network. But that's a great way to get your full fee rate, or have your clients have to make up the difference. Getting credentialed. Do you suggest paying someone else to do this? I mean, that's really more of a budget question. If you have the budget to find someone to quickly get that done, to not have to worry about it, I don't want to fill out credential paperwork. I don't want to have to follow up with, all of, CAQH and all of that. Now, when I first started out, did I have a budget to hire someone to do that? Not really. But I also then, that was one of the reasons that I said, well, I'm going to try private pay for a while. But I would say if you have the budget for it, I'd rather you do therapy than, spend all your time on phone calls. Now, there is something to be said for learning how to do things. And so if that's something that you want to do or you feel like you're good at it, then that may be a hat that you want to put on. But I would say that idea of do what you do best and outsource the rest. If you can afford it, I'd say go for it. Other questions? And feel free to also virtually raise your hand if you want to go back and forth a little bit, get a little bit of laser coaching for your phase of practice. We're going to wrap up in just a few minutes here. And then we'll talk about what's coming up tomorrow for our last day of Level Up Week. So those last questions coming in here. I'm going to also put in the chat the more extensive, let's see, practice of the practice.com/invite. It has all the information about Next Level Practice. If you want to read more about it, if you want to look at those links, that'll go there. And that practiceofthepractice.com/NLP door. That's going to be the one for to sign up for the best Next Level Practice group. So yeah, I don't see any more questions coming in. Well, there we go. All right, Abigail, on it. So best marketing strategies to market a private practice when starting out. I'd say just a handful of things that are really easy right when you start out. I would go through directory sites in your area, so Tele-Wellness Hub, Psychology Today, things like that, and look for people in your specialty. So if you are primarily helping people that are married in couples work, look for other marriage therapists, because when they get full, they'll go, oh, I know this person who does marriage work. I'm full. Sorry, I can't see you, but let me send you to Abigail. So start marketing there and networking there. Next, I would say look for people that don't see the group that you see. So maybe child play therapists, and most of them have parents, and maybe those parents are married and dealing with relationship issues. So to meet people that just don't see folks. So if in play therapy, the mom or dad says, yeah, we're just struggling. We're not sure if we're going to make it. We're separated now, but we want to get some good therapy. Do you know anyone? Oh, Abigail, we just met last week for kombucha. Go meet with Abigail. Give her a call. Tell her I sent you. So that people that don't see your specialty. Third, for marketing, I would say, write 26 blog posts in the first month that you have your website. So don't put them all out at once, but have them go weekly within your specialty, within your niche, so that you can rank in SEO for the search terms you want to search for. So counseling, your area. So for me, it would be Traverse City. So Traverse City, counseling, anxiety. Traverse City, counseling, parents. Think about what would a parent Google? What to do when your kid keeps getting suspended? So write blog posts around that, and 26 so that they can be released weekly over half a year. If you have 26 blog posts that then are internally linked and getting linked to externally, that's going to help your SEO a ton. Fourth, I would say get your Google business up so that you show up on that little map. Do an evaluation of your area to see the people that show up. When you type in Traverse City Counseling, who are the top 3 counseling practices and how many reviews do they have? Usually it's like 3 to 5 reviews. So if you can get 5 of your colleagues to say, I know this lady Abigail, she's great. I was in grad school with her. She has this amazing practice that helps couples. To have them speak as a clinician, because you're not going to ask your clients to do that. That's going to help you rank really high. And then lastly, I would say look at local media. So look for local television, local radio. I used to think, oh, local radio is not going to talk to me. Local radio is always looking for interesting people to come in. When I had first moved back to Traverse City, I had just started my practice. And so it would have been, I started it in July of 2009 here in Traverse City. And in August 2009, I was already on local radio regularly. I was on the Mary in the Morning show every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., which I cannot believe I got up that early, but I did. And that was while I was working a full-time job also. So those are the 5 things I would say you should do to really market your practice. Start with just one of them, do it well, then move on to the next one, do it well. Keep track of how people are finding you. Thanks for letting me into your ears and into your brain today, everyone. Have an amazing day. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye. Well, I hope you absolutely loved that training. Our next Level Up Week is right around the corner. On September 18th, it kicks off all the way through the 21st, 2023. We have so many great trainings coming up. We have ones that are particular for people that are just getting started in private practice, people that have a solo practice. Maybe you're at that spot where you're ready to level up into starting a group practice and you're like, how the heck do I do that? Or maybe you already have a group practice and you want to just thrive even more. And maybe even you're ready to start building an audience and passive income and things like that. We have some amazing speakers, some panels, some trainings, just so much is going to be going on all 4 of those days, September 18th through 21st, 2023. It's totally free. Would love for you to head on over to practiceofthepractice.com/level up, and you can register for any of those particular trainings that you're interested in, or just join the email list and you will get emailed all about every single training that's coming up. Thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have an amazing day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.